The next game is one of my own, where I had the black pieces against a master from Russia. I played this game in Austria in 1986.
White starts with e4.
This game starts with exactly the same opening as the previous we just saw, Bobby Fischer versus Kwatschewsky.
c5, knight f3, knight to c6, d4, c takes d4, knight takes d4, g6, knight c3, bishop g7, bishop e3, knight f6, bishop c4, and now black castles.
So far everything is identical to the previous game, Fischer versus Kwatschewsky. Here my opponent played it differently.
He also castled.
He castled. Castling is not as bad as f3 that I mentioned just before, but not as good as bishop b3 as Fischer played.
Black plays knight takes e4.
This is a typical little combination with the idea to try to gain the pair of bishops advantage for black.
White captures back, knight takes e4.
Another move possible here for white is to make an intermediate move and take on f7, and when rook or king captures back, then to take the knight with the knight. The advantage of this is that now black has 3 islands of pawns versus white having very healthy 2 islands of pawn. It's a matter of taste, which one white should choose. My opponent chose to take my knight.
d5.
That's the whole idea, to make a fork now on the bishop and the knight.
Knight takes c6.
Before moving the knight or the bishop, white makes this intermediate trade.
And black captures back with b takes c6.
Now white still has to face the fork, move the knight, move the bishop. What to do?
Bishop to d3.
That's the best move because it protects the knight and white will get the pawn back after black takes the knight.
Black captures the knight with d takes e4. Bishop takes e4.
So now white got the pawn back. A lot of pieces got traded off. The black pawn on c6 is under attack, but so is white's b2 pawn.
Bishop to a6.
And here I played bishop a6. More commonly here black just moves the queen out and protects the pawn, which is a fine move as well. In this game I preferred bishop a6, attacking the rook right away on e1, on f1, I'm sorry.
Bishop takes c6.
Now that's a mistake already. I actually had several games played just like this, and in some of my other games white played better here, namely trading the queens and then saving both the rook and the pawn, moving the rook to b1 to protect the pawn. It looks a little awkward, but at least it doesn't lose any material. Now let's see what's wrong with taking this pawn on c6. White's idea is that it's a counter-attack, even though the white rook is hanging, but now so is the black. But let's see what happens now.
Rook c8.
This was no surprise to my opponent. He assumed I will do this, attack the bishop, while the rook is also attacked. It seems that white is in big trouble, because after the bishop moves, I'll take the rook, or if the rook moves, I'll take the bishop. However, he planned the following series of moves, as we'll see.
Queen takes d8.
This came very quickly.
Rook f takes d8.
So did my response.
Rook f to d1.
This was his whole idea. Now, if I take the bishop, he'll take my rook. However, obviously, I do something else before.
Rook takes d1 check.
I made the trade of rooks.
Rook takes d1. Rook takes c6.
And this is the critical moment. He was assured that if I take the bishop, he'll checkmate me.
Rook takes c6.
So I got the bishop, but he was hoping he will checkmate me in just a couple of moves.
Rook to d8 check. Black plays the only move, bishop to f8. White plays bishop to h6.
This is what my opponent was hoping for, to checkmate on the following move with rook takes bishop. It may be simple to see at this point how black can rescue the position. However, it was not so obvious at all 5-6 moves ago when white went for all this sequence of moves with bishop takes pawn on c6. The saving move is
rook to c8.
With this move, black protects the bishop and maintains the extra piece. White only has one pawn as a compensation, and that's not enough. Therefore, my opponent resigned in this position. This game was very interesting in the psychological aspect as well, because I played an opening variation that I've played before, and my opponent did not get suspicious enough that I'm playing quickly and confidently, and he went for supposedly winning a pawn. What's the moral of the story? When you see it's a forced variation, try to double check and triple check to make sure your calculation is accurate, especially when your opponent plays quickly and confidently. So that's an advice. That's not just chess advice, but psychological advice. Be cautious. If your opponent seems so confident, maybe there is something to it.